Remember, remember the 5th of November. Just one of the many failed plots in British history, the Gunpowder Plot is still celebrated over 400 years after it happened. The face of its famous conspirator, Guy Fawkes, is known around the world. Who was Guy Fawkes? What did he do? And why is it remembered 4 centuries later? And how has his face become a symbol of chaos and protest?
Let's dig into this. The Gunpowder Plot has its roots in long simmering religious conflicts in Britain. It's a really complicated topic, so we're just going to cover the basics here. In a nutshell, from the time Henry VIII broke with the Catholic Church in 1534, England had suffered through wildly swinging religious extremes. Henry's son and successor, Edward VI, was Protestant and moved the country farther into Protestantism while persecuting Catholics. He was so worried his sister would undo his religious reforms that he named Lady Jane Grey, another Protestant, as his successor. Jane only lasted 9 days, and Henry VIII's daughter Mary was crowned queen.
Mary had been fervently Catholic her entire life, and she was determined to return England to the Pope. Her religious reforms and persecution of Protestants would gain her the nickname Bloody Mary. After Mary came her sister, Elizabeth I, who claimed she would not make windows into men's souls where religion was concerned. But she did expect Protestantism to be practiced in public, and she did, in fact, put many priests to death.
After Elizabeth's death in 1603, Catholics rejoiced at the possibility that the new king, James I, whose mother, Mary Queen of Scots, was Elizabeth's Catholic cousin and rival, would return England to the Catholic faith. He did not. In fact, in 1604, he condemned Catholicism and ordered all Catholic priests to leave the country. Of course, this description is a huge simplification of events over an almost 70-year span, but you kind of get the general idea.
Guy Fawkes was born in 1570 and grew up during these religious conflicts, and he was Catholic. In 1593, he left England for the Netherlands and joined the Spanish army. He spent nearly 10 years as a soldier and gained a reputation for being quite courageous. He also tried to get the King of Spain to support a rebellion against the English King James. It never came to anything, but there were other plots brewing in England, one led by Robert Catesby. Needed someone with military experience to help them finalize their plan. They contacted Guy Fawkes, and without knowing what the plan involved, he went back to England and became a conspirator.
While Fawkes is remembered today as the leader of the plot, he was just one of 5 members of the original group. Robert Catesby may have actually been the leader, and Thomas Winter, Thomas Percy, and John Wright all participated. Robert Keyes and at least 7 others would join the group before November the 5th.
The opening of Parliament was a state event, and King James, his chief counselors, and representatives of the House of Lords and Commons would all be in one place at one time. Perfect for the plan, which was to assassinate King James and as many government officials as possible. The king's daughter, Elizabeth, would also be kidnapped and then crowned once James was dead.
The group rented a cellar near Parliament's House of Lords. Different sources give different numbers, but as many as 36 barrels of gunpowder were collected and hidden in the cellar. It was the job of Guy Fawkes to light the fuse on November 5th, 1605, and blow up Parliament.
The plot was discovered when a letter was sent anonymously to a member of the House of Lords warning him not to attend Parliament's opening. The letter was taken to the king on November the 1st, and Parliament was searched on November the 4th. They discovered the cellar around midnight, where Fawkes was guarding the gunpowder and had matches in his pocket. He was immediately arrested and taken to the king. When questioned, he claimed his name was Johnson, and he was the only one involved in the plot. the king ordered he be taken to the Tower and tortured.
Fawkes gave no names, although he may have been subjected to several forms of torture. Until he was put on the rack, that is. This ancient device, usually a table where victims' ankles and wrists are fastened to rollers, moved by some sort of lever to stretch the body until limbs dislocate and muscles are ripped, was only used by order of the king or high officials at this time. We don't really know how many times he was racked, but on November 7th, Guy Fawkes finally broke and confessed everything.
By November 12th, all known conspirators were either killed trying to escape or arrested and taken to the Tower and tortured as well. The 7 men that survived the torture and imprisonment were charged with high treason and tried on January 27th of 1606. All were convicted and sentenced to a traitor's death. They would be dragged by hurdle to the place of execution, hung until nearly dead, cut down, drawn and quartered. The heads and body parts were ordered to be placed throughout London to discourage others.
Fawkes and 3 of the others were dragged to a platform set up opposite Westminster, the building they had tried to destroy a few days later. After 3 of the co-conspirators had been executed, it was Fawkes's turn. In a possible final act of defiance, or maybe it was just luck, Fawkes climbed the ladder to the noose, and either jumped or fell and broke his neck, avoiding the brutal death the others had suffered. He was still quartered, and his body was displayed with the other conspirators.
So why is the sad story of a failed plot to kill the king still remembered and celebrated 400 years later? An act of parliament made November 5th each year a holiday of Thanksgiving for the discovery of the plot and survival of the king. This act was in effect until 1859, and by then it was a tradition. Called Bonfire Night, Fawkes Night, or Plot Night, bonfires and fireworks have been part of the celebration since the 1650s. From 1673 on, an effigy, usually of Fawkes, but sometimes of the Pope or others, has been burned too. And over the centuries, Guy Fawkes has gained a reputation from books and movies as a more sympathetic character than he maybe was in real life.
Of course, even if you didn't know before today just who Guy Fawkes was, you have seen his face. It's the most recognizable symbol of chaos and defiance around the world. It started with V for Vendetta, a 1980s graphic novel series, and then a 2005 film about an imaginary dystopian future where a stylized mask of Guy Fawkes hides the faces of those who rebel. The popularity of the stories made the mask quite popular on Bonfire Night.
And then, a decade or so ago, the mask was incorporated into a global symbol of protest. Everyone from computer hackers to terrorists to anti-establishment activists used the face of Guy Fawkes to conceal their identities. We wonder if they know the rights to the image are owned by a huge corporation that sells more than 100,000 masks a year, making them the most popular costume item they sell.
There's an old folk rhyme about Fawkes, still used on Bonfire Night today. It goes like this.
Remember, remember the 5th of November, the gunpowder treason and plot. I know of no reason the gunpowder treason should ever be forgot.
And it hasn't been.
We hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
And we'll see you on the next one.